All right, welcome back into the Tag Tim Pod, episode 3. I'm your co-host Tim Fournier,
And I'm
alongside
Tag.
Tag. There we go. So we're gonna be previewing week 6 today. Um, Today's Friday, so we did just have Seahawks Niners. I guess we can like talk about that a little bit, and then we'll
Yeah.
kind of go back and forth, bring up some interesting games coming up this weekend. But yeah, what'd you think of the game last night?
Um, uh, Baseline thoughts, a couple things immediately. Where are the Niners finding these running backs? Imagine being on your third string running back and he's going for almost 100 yards. By the way, should have scored that touchdown. Couple things. That was a very winnable game for Seattle. Like very winnable. Um,
Yeah.
the Niners execution, especially down the stretch, like between the halves, like end of half, start of half, was not very good. And it's time to have a conversation about that 49ers defense.
Yeah, it's not good.
Not anymore, man. You know who I saw a tweet the other day saying, you know who their new defensive coordinator is?
Isn't it what's his face? Chargers, Brandon Staley?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Is that why? Do Chargers fans have a point?
I
Do
mean,
Chargers
they had
fans?
a big interior defensive line injury.
Is it Hargrave?
Hargrave,
Yeah.
he's done so.
That's
Who
more
subbed in?
more propaganda for my interior defensive lineman is the most important position in football. Uh,
Yeah. I mean,
take.
yeah, there's just not a lot of like great ones out there.
Yeah, and they're relying a lot on rookies, which a lot of them have made plays, but I mean, still, Hufanga's
Yeah.
out too. Or did he play yesterday?
No, he's out, but then their rookie safety Malik Mustafa, who had been
Mm,
playing well, got hurt. So
mm,
he was in the game. He actually caught an interception,
yeah, I remember
overthrow
that.
from Gino. My kind of take on I guess this is kind of switching gears a little bit, but with the Seahawks, just going off that Gino overthrow. One of like the biggest thing that PFF has always harped on over the last few years, whatever, has always been how, yes, there are some quarterbacks that deal with pressure better versus others. The overall play when under pressure is very erratic, just across the board. Like you're gonna get your highest highs and your lowest lows, and it's going to be very not sustainable if you're necessarily like playing really well under pressure. And I think
Yeah,
Geno Smith, like their interior offensive line, and really 4 of their 5 starters are really bad. Charles Cross is a pretty good tackle, and the interior
yeah,
is awful. They have Stone Forsythe at right tackle because Abraham Lucas is hurt and hasn't even been playing well when he has played because he's been hurt and whatever. I think it's just been constantly under pressure, and we saw the first couple weeks it was like, oh, like Gino like is playing really well, and he was under pressure. And now we're kind of seeing the like, if it happens every single week, you're not going to play well every single week. In the last two
yeah,
weeks, he hasn't played that well.
yeah. That's kind of it's very hard to be like consistently good under pressure.
Yeah.
Which you kind of saw like just in game, not just game to game, but in game as well. He was really rough in that first half, missing a lot of throws. But in the second half, especially when they kind of went on a run, he was a little bit better. And then at the end, kind of under pressure on that miscommunication with DK Metcalf that ends up
Yeah.
losing in the game.
Yeah. Like there's that play, there's the overthrow,
What's your
and
take
like the
on
early
that
pick.
DK the interception to DK Metcalf?
Um, I don't know.
Because it looked like it was like DK was running a dig, and then he
Yeah.
thought that the opposite corner was bailing down towards the go, so he thought he could run up, and Geno Smith
I'd
kind of
have to
threw it
look at it again,
cut
but
in.
I remember my first kind of thought was like I feel like DK could have played that
Yeah,
better.
it looked like Geno expected him to keep cutting inside to run the dig, but instead he kind of like cut it upfield, thinking they had a touchdown.
Yeah, I also feel like this maybe that play's not the best example of it, but there was some earlier in the game, and I saw a tweet about it too. It was like DK has so much talent, but he really doesn't have like the greatest ball skills.
Mhm.
He's like so big, so fast, so athletic that he is just based off of that level of what he has athletically.
Yeah,
He's like top 15-ish receiver. but he'll just like never sniff like solidified top 10, top 5 until and which is something I feel like is very inherent, like you either have it or you don't. But
Yeah.
there's a couple plays even on the same drive in the first half that were like, oh, DK contested catch opportunity and he's trying to like trap it against his chest instead of just like go pluck the ball out of the air. It's like, damn.
Yeah.
He had
You
good
kind of
ball
wonder at
skills.
this point.
He could like fight for he could be Julio.
Yeah. You gotta have to wonder at this point is like, how old is DK? Is what, 25?
He's not super old.
Does
Probably drafted
yeah,
him
no,
at
he's
what,
not
like
the
19 or
oldest guy.
something?
Yeah, I think so. He is 26. So it's like, do you really expect him to develop that trait, or is that kind of just who he is at this
I
point?
think
Just a
it's
freak
just who he
athlete.
is, which is
Yeah.
fine. Like he's a great player.
Hmm.
Um, and he doesn't necessarily have to like make that next jump to like save his
Still,
career. It's
yeah.
just like he just has so much talent. It's like, wow, like this guy could be great. Some guys, it's
Hmm.
I think that's just like a natural thing that you either have or you don't. Um, Someone that like had a great career that was never a hands catcher was you remember Mike Wallace,
Mm.
Steelers deep threat, like played in the Dolphins
Right.
and then at the very end of his career the Ravens.
Yeah.
Deep threat, great player, like always a good player in whatever offense he went into, caught every single ball against his chest, no matter
Yeah.
what, and was a long time, like 10-year NFL vet. And DK's better than him. So, I mean, that's just something that I was thinking about. And from the Niners side, what are your thoughts on Brock Purdy this year? I'm seeing a lot of people saying he's playing really well, and some people saying he's playing really bad.
I feel like that's like the perfect that's not the word I'm looking for. Allegory. Allegory is the word I'm looking for. Almost metaphor, I guess. For Brock Purdy in general, is there are people that are really high on him. It's like slow down. He's not that good. And then there's people that are really low on him, and it's like slow down. He's not that
Hmm.
bad. He's somewhere in the middle, and it's kind of like I tweeted about it last night where I said that he wasn't perfect. He certainly there were some execution issues in the red zone. He missed a couple throws. He kind of trusted people to get open and they didn't. And he kind of missed. There was a play where he missed a quick out to Brandon Ayuk in the red zone that could have scored them a touchdown. That's what I mean when like he's missing things sometimes. But when the Niners had needed him, he came through. Right? It's kind
Hmm.
of it's so cliche. Like, oh, do you show up in big moments? But he showed up on the throw to Kittle, to both of them. When the Niners needed him to score a touchdown in the red zone, he found a way to do it. And like really in a divisional game, Thursday night football, you're 2-3, you're in danger of becoming third in the division if you lose this game. It's really all you can ask from him. So I don't think he's been great by any means. But I don't he hasn't been bad. He's kind of been like what I thought Brock Purdy was, like 10 to 15 range of a quarterback, just a
Hmm.
guy who you can win with. But I will say he's looked really good as far as improvisation,
Hmm.
which is something that any Shanahan tree really doesn't like allow their quarterbacks to do. So I think it's interesting for me to see how that's going to develop. How is somebody who is so creative when the play breaks down like Brock Purdy is going to thrive in that kind of offense, and how is he going to make that offense better?
Yeah. I feel like as humans, like human psychology is you want everything to make sense and you want everything to be black and white. Like he is the 17th best quarterback in the NFL, and everyone above him will be better than him on every play, and everyone
Yeah,
below him will be worse on every single play. But it's not like that. Like sports are just not like that at all. Like players that are worse than other players will get the better of someone else on one play and not the next play, and it's game by game, week by week, stretch of the season by stretch of the season. And then it's like, okay, Brock Purdy, he's the definition of a system quarterback. Like, look at all the weapons
yeah,
he has, the coaching, and it's like, well, arguably his best trait is his like play extension, which is
uh,
all him and 0% of the system. He I like this is something that I when he very first started playing, when he was Mr. Irrelevant, they had the quarterback injuries, and he comes in. It was like no one wanted to accept that he was like not bad. And
Mhm.
like I would see him do that like half spin, like half rollout out of the pocket and then go make a play. And I'd be like, wait a second, like the
Mhm.
last pick in the draft just did that? Like this isn't sustainable. Or he would like drift back 20 yards in the pocket, which you're not supposed to do. And
Yeah.
it'd be like, oh, well, yeah, he just doesn't know what he's doing. But then it would work. And I'd be like, oh, well, that's not sustainable. And then here we are, like 2 or 3 years later, and it's like, okay, he's still doing this.
Yeah.
And what I'm getting at is then there's people that are like, he sucks, and the only reason he's good is because he has Ayuk and Debo and Kittle,
Mhm.
and they'll point to the Debo touchdown last night, and they'll be like, that was just like shitty throw from Brock Purdy. He just like floated it up there, and then it was a 75-yard touchdown, and because Debo caught it and made a guy miss and outran everyone for a touchdown. But then it's
Yeah.
like a few drives later, he makes a throw from the opposite hash across the field, pinpoint accuracy to the front pylon to George Kittle for like the most accurate touchdown pass I've ever seen in my entire life. And it's
Yeah. It's just a thought.
like, like he does that too. So
It's
he
all, yeah.
it's like, it doesn't make sense, but
Mhm.
it's hard to like rank these guys when it's
Yeah.
just so volatile every
Mhm.
game.
Yeah. It's so different, especially when you're not like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, any of those like elite quarterbacks who performs every game. And even Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen just had a slip up. Lamar Jackson's had a slip ups.
Hmm.
Uh, but I will say with a guy like Purdy, like when he first came out, yes, he was just elevated, dorky looking Jimmy Garoppolo, right? But people act like a young quarterback like that can't develop. And
Hmm.
he has definitely gotten better over the course of
Yes.
his career. He is not the same player he was when he came in what, week 8 in 2022, 2023, one of the two.
Yeah,
Uh,
22.
yeah, whenever they went on that run with him, he's not the same player that he was at that time. And I would say, like, yeah, at that time, his best trait was improv, and he gotten even better at it. Uh, do I think Brock Purdy is a top 5 quarterback or even belongs near those conversations? No. Is he terrible? Is he like someone the Niners can't win with? Also, no. Is he only good because of the Niners system and their uh kind of the weapons they have around him? No. Now, I'm sure there's some merit to him developing because of the supporting cast around him and him being as good as he is because of the supporting cast around him. But if you took away Debo, the offense is still probably top 15 in EPA. Maybe they're not top 5 like they are right now, but it's still a really good offense.
Hmm. Yeah, it'll
But
be,
that's any quarterback, right?
yeah,
Like if you take away Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow's not going to look as good as he is. If you take away uh CD Lamb, Dak Prescott's not going to look as good as him. That's not like just a Brock Purdy problem. It's like you're not. It's a team game. You're not going to perform. You're not Superman going out there,
right.
right?
It's going to the only problem with what I just talked about is like it's impossible to rank these guys. Then it becomes a time where you have to when it comes time to pay him. And when that's it's going to become insufferable. The level of like confidence people are going to have one way or the other. And then just like it's going to be like that's all anyone's going to be talking about once it comes that time. And selfishly, I kind of want to see him go somewhere else just because I think he is actually like pretty good and just
Yeah.
like show that he can win somewhere else. And I
Mhm.
feel like Shanahan would like also probably be fine like with taking like
Yeah.
a quarterback like reclamation project and
Yeah.
like
I mean,
putting them
you
into
see
the
the
system.
the the success around the league with Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. Kyle
Yeah.
Shanahan could probably take Bryce Young and make him a good player. I don't know.
Like I'd love to see I don't know, what if, freaking the Lions win the Super Bowl and then Ben Johnson leaves and like becomes the new head coach of the Jets and Rodgers retires and then Purdy goes to the Jets. Like I would like to see that's just a hypothetical scenario. I'd like to see what happens. Like
It would be fun.
obviously he'd have to still go to a good situation. Like if you just like throw him on the Titans next year, he'll probably suck.
But yeah, yeah. If you throw him on the Panthers, yeah, he's not going to be
Like
very good.
yeah, probably suck. But yeah, so I think the Niners will be fine. I think
Yeah, me
their
too.
offense actually has like a higher ceiling than we've seen because this is, I think Purdy has developed, like you said,
Yeah,
and still have the same band of guys together. And then if McCaffrey can come back, but the defense is going to be the problem.
yeah,
And then it's like, well, if your offense is humming, like you can beat anybody. So where does that land? I don't know.
yeah.
And the
It'll be interesting
Seahawks,
to
I
see.
think we're kind of seeing they had a easy schedule for the first three games.
Yeah.
And
I didn't want to admit it, but I'm afraid it might be the case.
yeah. And then the
Do
Mike
like that team.
McDonald defense, their D line's really beat up, and I think that's
Mm.
really hurt them the last 2 weeks too.
Yeah. They do have a lot of edge, like depth out, and so they're running pretty thin on that
Yeah,
that
like
side of
Byron
the
Murphy
ball.
is hurt, and Jenna Nwosu,
That's the
Boye
big one.
Mafe missed a game.
Yeah, Boye was the dude out in coverage when he tossed that ball up to Debo.
Yeah,
I
and
was
just
like, okay,
couldn't
guys.
couldn't get a hand on
Um,
him. But
any
anyway, I guess
games this
we'll.
week
What's
that you're
that?
looking forward to? Any
Yeah,
games this week you're
so
looking forward to?
that the first one I wanted to bring up, being a Ravens fan,
There we
I feel
go.
like this is the one that you tell me if I'm wrong because obviously I'm gonna have like Ravens bias into my like feed on social
Mm.
media, but I feel like this is like the most hyped up game of the week. No?
Oh no, definitely. There's like Commanders fans treating this like it's their Super Bowl, which I get.
Yeah,
Commanders haven't been good since like what 2020, and even
yeah.
then,
It's great. I'm happy that they're like
yeah,
excited, and
no,
Jaden Daniels like proves me wrong every week. I even said like pump the brakes. The Browns are gonna give him a completely new test, and he passed that one too. So I mean, at this rate, like if the Ravens defense did really struggle last week against Joe Burrow.
mm,
I think their kind of skill players are simply just better than our defensive perimeter players, and that's kind of what it came down to. And Joe Burrow played a near flawless game, and when that happens, like there's nothing you can really
yeah,
do about it. The secondary could have played better though. Like Marcus Williams had an awful game at safety. But so what I'm getting at is uh Jaden Daniels, like I the Ravens defense is struggling, but it has really good personnel. So
yeah.
part of me is like they can kind of like bring things along. Um and like I don't want to keep sounding like a Jaden Daniels hater, but like if he just lights up the Ravens defense again
Yeah,
or this
which
week, is it like okay, he passed another test against a great defense, or is it like
mm,
okay, he just again lit up a bad defense? Like I don't really know what the Ravens defense is right now.
yeah, I will say, uh, to the Jaden Daniels thing is he had his moments where he looked really good against the Browns, and there were moments like the interception. There was another deep throw over the middle that was almost intercepted. That he looked like the decision making wasn't perfect, which for a rookie quarterback you get that. And I'm taking terrible decisions for like the 50-yard bomb on the move under pressure to the right side to Terry McLaurin. I'm taking it when he has the kind of rushing upside that he has. So
Mhm.
I'm not saying he played a bad game, but he wasn't perfect by any means.
Yep.
And the Ravens, interesting point here the reason I don't think that Washington is going to win is because these are the two top teams in EPA per play on offense. So these are two great offenses. Defensively, though, the Commanders suck. They're last in
I fully
EPA.
expect the Ravens to do whatever they want on
Yeah.
offense.
The Ravens defense not so high in DVOA or EPA, but they are high in DVOA, which the Commanders are not high in either of them.
Hmm.
And even when that's nerd stuff, it's stats, but even when you watch them on the field, you can tell the Commanders or the Commanders defense is not as good as the Ravens defense.
Hmm. The
So I think
Jaden
defense is
Daniels thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, you're good.
Um, I like was taking like victory laps in my head after one quarter of that Commanders
Mhm.
Browns game. I was like, see, like this is exactly what I'm talking about. He did hit that big play to Terry McLaurin, but then immediately threw an awful red zone interception. And I was like, this is going to be a different test. And he started off, he's been, having a 90% completion percentage, not the greatest stat in the world to go off of, but then he was like 5 of 11 with a pick. And it's like, okay, like this is exactly what I'm talking about. But I think we saw in real time him figure out how to like beat an NFL defense that is blitz heavy like
Yeah,
immediately. So he was like, oh, like they're just gonna blitz me on every play, and I'm gonna get man coverage with Terry McLaurin one-on-one down the field, or all I have to do is just be the natural elite athlete that I am, make one guy miss, and then I can just run down the field for 15 yards. I'll just start doing that every play and
that's
then
what
he
I've been
just shredded
really
them.
Yeah, that's what I've been really pleased to see from him is kind of in-game adjustments, like
Yeah, he's learning
almost
so
clicking.
fast.
Yeah, it really happened against the Buccaneers too. They blitz a lot too, but they zone
Hmm.
blitz, and he
Yeah,
kind of figured
a
out
lot of
over the
stunts.
course of that game where like the windows to throw the football where he really
Hmm.
struggled in the first half, but in the second half he didn't really struggle, but he
Yeah,
wasn't as nails as he was in the second half of that
yeah.
game.
I fully, I like Jaden Daniels, but he was my QB4, and I really thought he was going to struggle his rookie year.
Mm,
Especially going to the Commanders because I thought their offensive line was really bad.
mm,
And I was like, he has a really high sack rate in college. He's going to a bad offensive line. Like, I think it's going to take time for him to figure out how to diagnose defenses. And I'm worried that he's just going to get like the crap beat out of him. And I'm worried about like Kingsbury, like, is he going to help him? But I think the offensive line still isn't great. But the way he's playing, it has helped the offensive line so much.
yeah. The offensive
They've had
line is
some guys
definitely
playing
up.
well, though, to be fair.
Yeah,
Like Cornelius Lucas has like an 80 PFF grade.
it's pretty damn
That a
good.
rookie rotates in with him, Brandon Coleman, and he has like a 55.
Hmm.
Like he's not playing well, but it's like Cornelius Lucas, career year. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
And like Sam Cosmi's been really good. But yeah,
Also,
in
credit to
terms of
Kingsbury in that situation for not like for getting the ball out quickly. Getting the ball out quickly isn't just Jaden Dan. He doesn't believe in Jaden Daniels to throw the ball down the field, which is obviously not. That's one of Jaden's best traits. He's getting the ball out quickly because that offensive line isn't that great. So he's
yeah,
putting them in positions to where they don't have to block for 30 seconds. They just got to block for one.
yeah. The Commanders are really interesting too because I think Kingsbury should be getting a crap ton of credit for what's going on right now.
Mhm.
And but
But
at the
nobody
same
wants to give it to
time,
him because of the way the Cardinals kind of fell down the stretch. People
yeah,
were like, well, how's he going to look in the second half of the season? And it's like, well, even like you can't use the past to evaluate what's happening right now. And what's happening
yeah.
right now is Cliff is doing a very good
And I
job at
think
putting that offense in a position to
yeah.
succeed.
And I think coaches, people don't like to admit this or think about this, but I think coaches can develop over time just as players can too,
Hmm.
especially when you're a young coach like Cliff. Like we've even seen like McVay. McVay is so good because he adapts over time.
Yeah.
And like he was solely, the Shanahan wide zone stuff, and we saw the Patriots shut that down in the Super Bowl. And then now this past year, they like went all in on getting like big, beefy interior offensive linemen who've all gotten hurt, but they like run like gap and duo, and like that's coaches can develop over time as well. And Cliff deserves a lot of credit. And
Hmm.
what's really unique about the Commanders right now is I don't know if there's going to be a team because normally when we see like defensive head coach with younger, really good offensive mind, offensive coordinator, that coordinator gets poached and then the team goes downhill.
Yeah.
But because Cliff already kind of failed as a head coach, teams might not really like offer him head coaching spots.
Hmm.
And then the Commanders just get to like roll with Dan Quinn being kind of like the CEO type
Yeah.
head
Which
coach. And then, you know,
if you saw the Falcons after they made the Super Bowl.
right. But if they got to keep Kyle Shanahan that whole time, they would have kept it rolling. Like
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like Dan Quinn run the defense, be the CEO, and then if you can keep Kingsbury and no one poaches him, then you're
Mhm.
cooking with gas.
Yeah.
But as far as
There
the
is a
game
yeah.
goes, again, I'm a Ravens fan, so expect some bias, I guess. But I think the Ravens, like, there's no reason they should be slowed down on offense at all. And
Yeah.
Lamar, dare I say, looks better than his first MVP season.
He's looked really good
This
recently.
is the best version of Lamar I've seen. I think statistically, like if you like dive really deep into the stats, his first MVP season was like the most efficient season ever.
Yeah.
Like I don't know about ever, but like he literally threw a touchdown on like 8% of his passes, which was like historic. He led the league in touchdown passes and was like last in attempts for like a starter, and
Hmm.
then had like 1,200 rushing yards. Um, but you always kind of knew like they needed to be in the perfect game script for it to work, and they just were every game
Mm.
that year and last year mostly. But now it's like, oh, we're down 10 in the fourth quarter. Lamar can drop back every single play, and we're going to move down the field, and he's going to make something happen,
Yeah.
which is a lot scarier because that means no matter what happens in the game in football, which we know is a very high variance game, which we talked about at the top of this show,
Hmm.
they can if they're down 10, like they can win. They showed that last week. If
Yeah,
they're
that's
yeah, if they're up 10 and they can just hand the ball to Derrick Henry and that's working, they're completely fine with that too.
mhm. That's what I think the Ravens have been missing compared to like a team like the Chiefs over the past couple of years is that ability to play different styles of game. That's why I think the Chiefs have won two straight Super Bowls with, yeah, I won't say the ease, but with the kind of dominance that they have is because even without the weapons, they can sit there and they can run it down your throat with Isaiah Pacheco. They're not afraid to do that.
Mhm.
They're not afraid to play a defensive game, but if they also need to air the ball out and score 30 plus points, they can do that. And it kind of feels like a team like the Ravens and the Bills. The Ravens have kind of struggled to get in those kind of shootout 40 to 40 games over the past couple of years, but they could really play that defense, run the ball style of games. And the Bills have can get in that 40 plus shootout type of game, but they've really struggled to run the ball. And you can tell those two franchises have uh, emphasized being able to do both things, right? You go out and you get Zay Flowers. Lamar continues to develop. You get Todd Monken, who is it's Todd Monken, right? That's y'all's OC.
Mhm.
Yeah, from Georgia, right? You go out and you get an
Yeah,
OC
I
who knows how to
mean,
throw the
he was
ball.
a longtime NFL coordinator and then went
Mhm.
to Georgia and then went back to NFL. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, so, you know, I really, I honestly think this is a Ravens year. Which, if you asked me
I
that after
have
they lost to
I
the
keep not
Raiders,
wanting to fully say it, but
yeah.
like the thing is the defense, right?
Hmm.
They have some great personnel on defense. They got a first year defensive coordinator in Zach Orr. Um, quick side story.
It's a good guy.
With Zach Orr, I have like a semi very, 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 very small connection. Um, his brother, Chris
Ooh.
Orr, was a very good linebacker, like all Big Ten player at Wisconsin.
Mhm.
And he was a senior when I was a freshman, when I was an equipment manager at Wisconsin. Like he was
Yeah.
a middle linebacker and he had 10 sacks and he was like all Big Ten, like really, really
Mhm.
good player in college. And then like bounced around on some practice squads, played in the XFL. And then my senior year, he came back as like an assistant. So then he was like more on the staff. Um, so I like have been around his brother a lot, and we
Yeah.
had a couple conversations like, "Oh, I'm a Ravens fan." He was like, "Oh, do you remember my brother Chris Orr, who was a linebacker on the Ravens, who I watched growing up, and he
Hmm.
was like an undrafted free agent that like lit the world on fire for a year, and I think he was like an All-Pro,
Let's see.
if I'm not mistaken, or like Pro Bowler for 1 year, and then he got a neck injury and had to retire." But it was crazy because it was like, oh, I know Zach Orr, like I know this guy because I watched him growing up. And then I go to Wisconsin, and I was like, oh, this is Chris Orr, this is his brother. And then I meet him, and then Zach Orr becomes the Ravens defensive coordinator. It's just cool how that happens. But he's first year defense coordinator. That's kind of gonna be the thing that's the biggest thing to figure out for the Ravens.
He
Sorry, did
was an
you?
all pro. He
He
was an
was
all
an all
pro, but
pro.
he went to UNT. Did not know that's where I go to school.
Look at that.
That's crazy.
Look at that. It all comes full circle.
That's pretty sick. He's from DeSoto. Wow. Okay.
It's
It's a
it's
small
just
world.
like so many random like
Yeah.
connections with that. I don't know. But and then yeah, so that's the last thing for them to kind of figure out. But
Mhm.
they did just uh small thing. They brought back their old defensive coordinator and Dean Pease, who was their longtime coordinator, who was very good for the Ravens. Um, which I think is really interesting. And I think it's really cool for Zach Ward to do that and to be like, yeah, like I'm not above that. Like I'll swallow my pride and bring in someone who used to be the defense coordinator here. And like all I care about is helping the team rather than like my own pride. Not
Yeah.
that he's like losing his title or something, but And one thing I remember about the Ravens as well is that there was always graphics that would come up that they're historically really good against rookie quarterbacks. And I was like, oh, does this apply to Jaden Daniels when they're playing them? But I was thinking, but it's Zach Orr, like he's kind of young in himself already. But if they
Mhm.
brought in Dean Pease for this week specifically, or like this happened to be the first week, he might have a couple of tricks up his
Yeah.
sleeve to mess with a rookie quarterback. So I'm feeling good about this week. I think the Ravens offense is just gonna like stay ahead enough where they're gonna win. But
Yeah. I will say to the Ravens Super Bowl point too, not only do they seem to be clicking and playing their best football, the Chiefs are missing their best wide receiver and their running back.
yeah, yeah,
Sometimes it's more important to be lucky is to be good. Uh,
yeah. Like they might not even be playing if they were to make it to the AFC Championship
yeah.
again. They might
Which is
not
crazy
even
to say because the
play.
Chiefs are 5-0, but like losing a guy like Ray Rice and Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah, Pacheco
Uh,
should be back come playoffs, but
is he? Yeah, which you can
I think
argue is
it's
he
like
the
a
same
eight
player?
week injury or something.
Is it? Got it.
Um, but yeah, you got a another game you want to talk about?
I'm looking at
I think
this.
honestly, your
There's a
boys
couple
have an interesting
games.
game.
Yeah, I really actually don't think it's all that interesting. I think they're going to rush for 400 yards, and this offense is going to figure out how to play football.
That's kind of
Uh,
my take on the game.
I'm, yeah, I feel like that's most people's take. I'm interested in the Houston and New England game because of my boy
Mm.
Drake May.
Are you, first of all, what was your pre-draft take on Drake May?
I was under the camp. I wasn't going to say he was better than Drake or better than Caleb, but
But
I
you were
was
very
always
high.
under the belief that it was very, very close. Like everybody thought that it was
Mm.
Caleb and nobody else. And I was like, Drake May's right there. Drake May's a really good player.
So I definitely had Caleb definitively number one. I did
Mhm.
have Drake May I had him at 2A, I'll say,
Uh-huh. With
with Penix.
yeah.
I'm a huge Penix guy. But um my take was that I was more confident in Penix uh starting day one versus Drake May. And I thought the way the NFL was going, that even though I would technically, if I was running things, I would take Drake May and I'd sit him for a year. And if that happens, I think he'll be better than Penix. But if you
Mhm.
get him out there right away, it might like Bryce Young him, might like ruin his development. So it was
Yeah.
kind of like a fluid too, where it's like if you're taking him to sit him, I'd rather have, and you can sit him, I would rather have May. But if you're
Mhm.
taking him and you gotta play him early, I'd rather have Penix. And
Yeah.
what do you know it? Drake May's playing before Penix. So I guess whatever. But
Yeah.
I don't know
23.
how he's supposed to have any success at all.
You know what? I have a weird hunch that he is going to have success. I Bear just regardless of my bias on Drake May, because I really do like him as a player, the offense is going to look better than it has under Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett, I in the past was a decent, like a good backup. He can come in and win you games. Looks complete. I don't know if it's because of the offensive line. I don't know if the play calling's terrible, but he looks really bad. Like missing throws downfield, locking onto his reads, uh, not progressing through reads. It's very bad quarterback play. That's why I think they feel so comfortable putting in Drake May right now. And another reason think they feel so comfortable is I think Gerard Mayo thinks his job is like I think he thinks he's on the hot seat.
Yeah.
And so he's hoping that Drake can come in and bail him out. It just feels like a very selfish situation because let's say he doesn't. Not only are you ruining your job, you're ruining his development because
Mm.
he's going to come in against a good Texans defense and die because they have a good front seven, right? Maybe their secondary lacks, so you can argue just give him a little time. He's going to find those holes. He's that good. But if he's that good, why didn't you start him week one? Because now he would have had 4 games, 5 games under his belt going into a good defense instead of, hey, go make your first start against one of the best front sevens in the league.
Yeah. I actually don't think Brissett has looked that bad himself,
Mhm.
but I
He's
think
looked worse than he had in the past. Let me clarify. He
yeah, I
hasn't looked
really think that's because of the
worse,
surround.
young, bad.
He's not a
Yeah.
I think he has actually looked good for what he is.
Hmm.
He is just not going to elevate anything.
Yeah.
And they have I think by like every metric the worst offensive line in the league.
Oh yeah,
And
and then they're on like third string at every position. And so not only is it bad, it's depleted.
it's like not workable. And then they
Yeah.
have no talent for him to throw to. And then he's not anywhere close to being good enough to elevate what's around him. Because he's Jacoby Brissett. He's the 37th best quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
And then but so the only chance, and he's also not an improviser where he can like make something happen either. Like that's not his like style of play. Like he sit in the pocket, go through his reads correctly, and make a decision, hit someone or whatever. And there's just like no opportunity for any of that to work. Um, so from the Gerard Mayo perspective, it's kind of crazy because after week one, it was like, oh, like such like great vibes in New England. They're going to be frisky this year. They have no talent, but their defense is kind of good. And, this young coach is galvanizing everybody. Now the culture is horrible. We're hearing all these terrible things going on in the locker room. Jabril Peppers is like hitting women,
Wonder whatever the hell
something. I don't
Chris is
know.
doing. Yeah. Fucking
Um,
idiot.
so it's like I see what you're saying for sure. It's like from Gerard Mayo's perspective, it's like this is the only chance for things to get better is to throw a talented with one decision is to throw a talented quarterback in there, and then if he's really great and he elevates everything around him, that's the only way this gets better. So like I kind of see it from there, but from a like high level, like what's best for the Patriots, it's Drake May's success in 2025.
Yeah.
And this is not good for it because he's going into an awful situation. In terms of your like hunch that he's going to be good, everything in my brain says this is like
Yeah.
horrible.
That's
But just
why
like
it's a weird
knowing the
hunch.
like variance like we've talked about in the NFL and like crazy shit that happens and sometimes like a change just like sparks a whole team. Like
Hmm.
I remember a quarterback that he has been compared to a lot in Justin Herbert. I was not a Herbert guy coming out. I thought he was really raw. I thought he definitely had to sit. And the Chargers offensive line was horrible that year. Still not that good, but it was horrible.
Yeah.
And then they threw him in there, and I was like, oh, here we go. He's gonna get fed to the wolves. He's gonna get murdered. And he threw like 4 touchdowns and looked insane against the
Hmm.
Chiefs. And it was like, whoa. So if Drake
Yeah.
May is that, like, then great. If he's anything less than that, he's gonna get destroyed.
Yeah. It's I tend to trust my weird hunches because I had a weird hunch about Joe Burrow. Not because I thought Joe Burrow was like the uber talented guy that I think Drake May is. But like everybody complained, why didn't you take Penei Sewell? Why didn't you take an offensive lineman? The offensive line is so bad whenever they drafted Jamar Chase. Uh, but there was something about like that vibe carrying a quarterback with the person he played with in college. This quarterback that was so good in college, has played on one of the best teams in the history of college football. That just the vibes were there, and it's the same thing with Drake May, where this should not work. You're going up against a great edge rushing duo. You're going up against Aziz Al-Shaair, who's one of the best linebackers in football, a guy I wanted the Cowboys to take. You're going up against D'Amico Ryans, who is a great defensive mind, who turned around a defense that was not good before he got there in Houston. And you're going in there with the worst offensive line in football. I was going to say probably. There's no probably. It is the worst offensive line in football with your best wide receiver being Mario Douglas. This absolutely should not work. But I feel like it is. And I
Yeah.
maybe that's just my bias towards Drake May, not only as a player, but as a person, because everything I've heard about the dude, he's awesome. But watching him in college, God, there's something there. It's and I want it to work.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's because I want it to work so bad. Maybe I don't feel like it is
Maybe.
going to
I
work.
don't
Maybe it's
blame
me.
you at all for that because it's like this is the like nothing ever really goes. You can have everything lined up in perfect, you know, all of your ducks in a row, and it just 9 times out of 10 just does not go the way you think it's going to go.
Mhm.
And The odds are definitely stacked against him, and if he goes in and does win, this is what I think is going to happen. I think he's going in awful offensive line, awful receiving core against a good Texans team, very good Texans team. I feel like he's gonna like randomly somehow find a way to win this game
Mm.
like 20-17, and people are gonna be like, he went in there with the absolute worst offensive line in the league, no receivers, and he beat the Texans. And then he's gonna start the rest of the year and he's gonna have like two more good games.
Yeah.
And it's just
Eh,
gonna be like the first one, he looked great.
mhm.
And he like builds this legend of Drake May in New England. In the first game, he looks great. And then like we're gonna go into next year, like, oh, remember his first game? He was so good, but it was like, yeah, but he also like kind of looked like not good the rest of the games. Kind of
Yeah.
like almost like Will Levis last year.
Mhm.
I could
Yeah.
very
He was
well
insane
see
first
like
year.
that not saying he's gonna be Will Levis, but like that arc of like he looked amazing week one, his first start, and then like the rest of the year was like, oh, well, that wasn't really sustainable. That just kind of like worked out really well for a week.
Yeah.
There's no way he like comes in and like lights the world on fire for the rest of the season. I feel
Mhm.
like his first game, no one knows what's going to happen. He could be good.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like that could happen.
And to that point, to the Texans, terrible interior offensive line. Their
Yep.
their Hall of Fame trajectory left tackle not playing well. Nico Collins out.
Out.
Bobby Slowick, not a good running game coordinator. Joe Mixon out. And
Is
this
he
is a
out? He might
Patriots
be playing this
defense.
week.
I think he was limited in practice today, but Damian Pierce is playing. Uh,
Hmm.
Let me make sure, but I think Joe Mixon is out.
Florida
This is an
legend.
offense that, after Nico Collins went down, did not score a touchdown. They scored 9 points, 3 field goals against a Bills defense that cannot defend the run. It does feel like a game where, against all odds, the Patriots would win. I do agree with that.
I
And I hope it
honestly,
happens.
I kind of like that
It's
prediction simply
questionable.
because like it seems like on the surface everything's stacked against him, but then there's like small things like, oh, Nico Collins is out. Like, oh, like Joe Mixon first game back if he does play. And it's like, like
I
maybe
might
those
make an
things
upset
are gonna
video this
matter.
week
I don't know.
just because I want to call that. I want
Yeah.
now now that you've kind of you talked me into it even more. I think there's a good chance the Patriots win that game. Not a good chance, but I don't. If the Patriots won, it'd be funny, but I'd be like, I mean, it wasn't
Seven
hats.
points on the spread is way too much.
Yeah. Mm.
I like it.
If you're a betting man,
I'll bet
take
it.
Patriots plus 7.5 or whatever it is.
I kind of like it. Is there another game you want to talk about, or
Man, I'm looking at the
I got
slate.
a
It's mid.
fun thing that we can do together.
Yeah,
If you want to do that, or we can just keep going.
we can do that. There's not really, other than Cowboys Lions is probably the next most interesting game, which I
Yeah, I
think
guess
the
if
Cowboys just
anything
get
else,
stomped.
like quick, it's not pretty, but I kind of like what the Broncos have going on right now. I don't know about you. Their
They
defense is
have a really
sick.
good defense, and they don't have outside of PS2. Ooh, this is a video I wanted to make. Outside of PS2, there's not like a name on that defense. However, I was looking at cover one uh stats, like teams that run the most cover one.
Mhm.
Top five teams were uh they were all of them, four of them were good defenses, and then it was the Jags. Like, why are we running cover one? But it was like the Broncos run a lot of cover one, the Ravens run a lot of cover one, Minnesota runs a lot of cover one, and then the Jets run a lot of cover one. I'm for sure on Minnesota, the Jets, and the Broncos. I'm not so sure if it was the Ravens or maybe another
Well,
defense.
Riley Moss. That's it.
Yes, good player as well. It is such an advantage, I think, being able to run cover one. Uh,
Yeah, because you
that
can
and the
create so much
Broncos do it very
pressure
well.
out of it. If you're manned up across the board, you just get a numbers advantage in terms of being able to send
Mhm.
simulated pressure where you don't necessarily just need an elite edge rusher to win every play. That being said, Zach Allen on the Broncos is having an absolute breakout season
Mm.
as kind of that like half edge, half interior
Ah, Cardinals
rusher.
legend.
Cardinals legend,
Yeah,
DC legend. And Jonathan
that defense
Cooper
is like
is
should not
super
be that good,
athletic,
but
and
mhm.
when you get to like blitz a lot and do a lot of stunts like that and have simulated pressure because your corners are so sick, having a super athlete is very helpful.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's a really fun team. Bo Nix, contrary to everyone making fun of him, and I think it's just easy to make fun of Bo Nix. He hasn't looked like terrible. Now he hasn't
yeah.
looked good, but
If you
he's been good enough to win games, you
if
know.
you have an elite defense and then like you have Bo Nix, I feel like
Mhm.
Sean Payton's like the perfect quarterback to like have in that situation because like I don't know, I just
Honestly,
trust him to like make ugly offense work.
yeah. I don't want to get ahead of myself here. I don't think anybody's expecting the Broncos to make the playoffs or have a high pick.
No.
Broncos picking around 8 to 12. Pick up Ashton Genty. If you have a good running game with that
Mm,
defense,
that'd be sick.
that's a good team.
That'd be
Like a
sick.
team that I would expect to challenge some contenders like sneakily out west.
I loved Bo Nix getting in Sean Payton's face.
Hmm.
I loved seeing that.
You
First of
see
all, because
the
I
his
think
post
Sean
game
Payton's
press
a
conference?
dick.
Yeah,
First of
he
all,
does.
first and foremost, he seems like an asshole. So I just love someone like standing up to him.
Hmm.
Second of all, I love to see that Bo Nix has the confidence to do that.
Yeah.
A, because I think that's actually, if it is from the right way, like very constructive for
Mhm.
like a quarterback head coach to have the type of relationship where like they can blow up at each other like that and then be constructive and figure it out.
Yeah.
Um, and it's not just like so one-sided where the quarterback isn't even like saying what he's seeing to like have both of their minds kind of like meld together and figure it out. So I think I actually just really like seeing that out of Bo.
Yeah. And
Um,
and the way they reacted to it in the post game pressures, you could tell it's not like there's no bad blood. It was just like heat of competition,
yeah,
and we do this thing
and he's
better.
competitive and he cares.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a yeah,
I
compared
think
to
so. The Broncos are like, I'm not excited to go watch a Broncos game because they're gonna just like force three and outs and then have three and outs on their own because their offense sucks. But
yeah,
I'm very like interested in what's going on and like checking in to like what's
yeah.
happening. It's
It's
like
like the
keep
Steelers
winning
right now.
too.
You know,
Yeah, it's
nobody's
like
begging to go watch a Steelers game, but
no,
they
but you
just
have to
can't.
respect what they're doing.
Yeah,
Yeah. All
sounds
right. So
fun.
the fun thing that I thought we could do is we could run the Immaculate grid together.
Bet I would like that.
All right, I'll share my screen right now.
There we go. All right,
Excuse my
I
5 trillion tabs.
suck at these.
In terms of getting rare ones or in terms of
Yeah,
like finishing
honestly,
it?
in terms of finishing it too, I feel like my mind goes blank on a lot of them.
All right, so do we want to
But I do
try
try.
to finish it as fast as possible or get like good names going?
Let's get some good names going.
Okay, but we got to finish it at the very least.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
All right, Packers, Jets.
Uh,
We can work with here.
let's see.
Wasn't Randall Cobb on the team last year?
There's this guy. He's really buried down in the depth chart. His name is like Aaron something.
Mm, do we want to just go
Aaron
that easy
something.
and like lock
No,
it in?
no. There's Alan Lazard's is
Favre.
a good option. Uh, what's the corner that played for both of them? Did Charles Woodson play for both of them? No, he's a
No.
Raider, right?
Yeah.
Uh, uh,
I kind of like a
Alan Lazard,
Randall Cobb.
Randall Cobb.
Let's just do that.
I don't hate it.
Not bad, not bad.
It's not bad. Chiefs and Packers might be a little more difficult. That's a team that I don't feel like has a lot of off the bat though, MVS.
Yeah,
Uh, but I feel like that's the most obvious one.
probably. But sometimes it's like there's only one answer.
Yeah.
Like you're really gonna get.
Yeah, like nobody's getting the practice squad
All right, well, we got MVS.
player.
We'll come
Yeah.
back to that. 10
10
sack
cents in
season
the
from the
season.
Packers. I think Sean Gary had one.
Hmm.
Clay Matthews.
Clay Matthews from who is they have Reggie White or no, not Reggie White. Who is their like
Yeah,
legendary
isn't it Reggie
is it
White?
Reggie White?
Yeah,
Uh I thought Reggie White was an Eagle. It is
I
Reggie White,
think
okay.
both.
Oh, he's both. He's both.
Let's just
Yeah.
run with Reggie White. You know, 48.
For
Whatever.
48
We're just
percent.
trying to let's just try and I like kind of just trying to finish them, you know?
Yeah. Okay, we could do that. Do MVS for
If
the
you come up with
Packers.
a great name, you come up with a great name.
Yeah. Buccaneers 10
Um,
plus sacks. What's the guy? Is it Derek Not Derek. I get his
Derek
name mixed up.
Brooks.
Derek Brooks, yes. I get his name mixed up with Derek Brown in Carolina.
Um, for some reason, I feel like I've done this before, and I got this one, and I typed in Derek Brooks, and it was wrong.
Maybe there's a different Derek Brooks. Derek Brooks. Or maybe there's a
Um,
different player we can go with. I
would
think.
Warren Sapp have ever done it?
Mm, it's a good question.
Mm,
Maybe like did Levante David ever hit 10? Maybe I mean I think Devin White got 8.5 in one season.
Devin White's low-key good call.
2020 though, interior linebacker. I don't know. We might have to skip that one. I might because I really don't
We
know
have a
if
lot of good names for that.
Derek Brooks. Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
also
yeah.
just gonna put MVS in here just so we can.
Yeah, there you go. Vita Vea, did he ever have a 10 sack
Mm,
season? Interior defensive line would be insane. I feel like I'd know about that. Uh Raiders, Jets, that feels like it should be easier than I'm making it out to be right now.
um,
Charles Woodson was really never a Jet.
no, I think you're thinking of Darrell Revis.
Mm, yeah, but he was never a Raider. I am thinking of Darrell Revis.
He was a Buccaneer, or he was a Jet in a right or a
Buccaneer, yeah, he
Buccaneer.
was.
That doesn't count.
10 sack season with the Raiders.
I mean, Khalil
Crosby just
Mack
had the one. Khalil Mack.
or Crosby, yeah. Um,
Raider Chief Amir Abdullah. Pretty sure played for both of them.
did he play for the Chiefs?
Yeah, or no, not Amir Abdullah. Was Jerick McKinnon? No, Jerick McKinnon was a Viking in the Niner. I'm thinking of Jerick McKinnon. Uh, Raiders, Chiefs. Who was a wide receiver that went through there recently? Chiefs, Bucks though. Bell,
Who?
right? Le'Veon Bell, not Le'Veon Bell. Shady McCoy, right?
Uh,
Or am I getting their career paths mixed up? I know one of them. I know Shady McCoy was a Chief for
he's
sure.
definitely a Chief, but I think you're thinking of Fournette of the
Maybe,
Bucks. Maybe.
maybe.
All right. I feel like there should be some much more obvious answers that we're not thinking of.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. I always suck. I get people's careers mixed up all the time. Jets, Jets Raiders feels like it should be really obvious. Like there's somebody
yes.
that I'm not. Soon to be Devontae Adams? Question mark.
Yeah.
Hmm. Who was a Jet that later in their career made it over to the
I keep
Raiders?
wanting to say Laken Tomlinson, but that's not true. Um, or like Chris Ivory, or like Quincy Enunwa. Uh,
I wanted to say one of the barbers for Jets and
I feel like
Bucks,
there's
but that was
something.
Giants Bucks.
There's also definitely a Chief Buccaneer that like won back-to-back Super Bowls,
I wouldn't doubt it.
and they like played together, or they like played with Brady and. Dude, why is this so difficult today?
See, it's the under pressure, man. I just suck at it in general. Chiefs Raiders also feels like it's easy, but I mean it's not interdivisional or intra-divisional. It isn't. Maybe soon to be Devontae Adams as well? Question mark. Um, I feel
Um,
like a quarterback played for
I
both.
think didn't Marcus Peters play on the Chiefs or the Raiders last
Yes,
year?
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, I don't know
That's a
why
good.
this is so difficult for me right now. Raiders, Jets.
Trying to think of those like Derek Carr early 2010s, or even like Rich Gannon era Raiders. The Jets are just a team that's been so
I know. Um, bro, like this should not be that hard. All right. Well, I'm gonna guess Derek Brooks. It's gotta be right.
Yeah.
See, I knew it.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
pretty sure I've done that one before. God damn. Um,
Hmm. I feel like one of those running. Unless there's a wide receiver that made his way down to Tampa that also played for the Chiefs. But I don't think I'd come up with that. Do you know Tampa is actually the
did Jason Pierre-Paul get 10 sacks on the Buccaneers with Brady?
oh, I don't know if he did. I feel like Shaq Barrett did.
Oh, that's a
Who,
good call. He has to have. He has to have.
or Shaq Leonard. Shaq Leonard, not Shaq Barrett.
No, it's Barrett.
Is it Barrett?
Yeah, Leonard is the linebacker.
Oh yeah. Darius Leonard. Yeah, that's right. Shaq Barrett.
Dude,
There he is.
has to have. Thank you.
There we go. Okay.
All right. Well, it's not going to let us guess one of these, but
Fortunate. Chiefs and Bucks.
okay. Call me.
Who are you thinking of? Yeah.
This is so gross. DJ Hayden is a
Like the
corner
corner
from
that
like
used to play for the Browns?
2011.
Or no, I'm thinking of Joe
Uh,
Hayden.
or maybe no, D Milliner.
These are some nasty names.
It's disgusting. Okay, I guess he had a 3-year career. He played for one of them. I think I'm mixing up someone. Or like Calvin Pryor. Oh my God. I'm just like pulling like awful names from like 2012. Um,
Like,
I feel like there's definitely a really obvious Chief Buccaneer.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, there is. Donovan Smith.
Mm. I'm gonna have to scroll through that list because I feel like one of those running backs played for both of them.
You might be right, but I feel like I'm mixing up Fournette and LaShawn
Mm.
McCoy and like the Chiefs signed Melvin Gordon for their Super
Yeah.
Bowl and
Jets, Bucks. These are two teams. Do you know the Buccaneers are they have the worst winning percentage in NFL history despite having two Super Bowls?
really, it's worse than the Browns.
Yeah. Because I think they count the Browns like pre-merger
Mm.
winning percentage as well. But I was watching it's all the
Oh, really?
Vikings were the
Like
because
so they
the
count as the Ravens?
yeah probably
Hmm.
because it was a video. I don't know if you watch Secret Base, but it was the video on the Vikings because the Vikings are the only team with a positive winning percentage that don't have a Super Bowl, and
Hmm.
the Buccaneers have the worst winning percentage in NFL history, but
Dang.
two Super Bowls. So who cares?
Yeah, I guess that's better. Um, is there like a quarterback like Mike Glennon or like Matt McGloin was a Raider? Um, Gosh,
Was
sometimes
Mark
my brain
Sanchez
just like
ever a Raider?
runs through all nine in 2 seconds, and other times it just does not work.
I know Mark Sanchez was a Cowboy.
Hmm. And
Was he a Raider?
Darren
Mm,
McFat, nope. Did
he
Latavius
was a
Murray
Cowboy
ever
too.
play on the Jets? It's the Jets that are really messing us up here.
That's what it is. I can't think of like early 2010s Jets.
Um, oh, here's an obvious one. Fitzy. He 50
Oh yeah.
teams, but All right, we got to think of a jet and a raider before I click on this thing. Let's give it like another minute. See if we can think of one. What about this is disgusting. Austin Safarian Jenkins,
That might
the
be nasty.
Jet. And low key, honestly, I think he was a Jet and a Buccaneer. He was low key a Raider at some point.
Would be nasty if that's true. This is an obvious one.
Josh McCown.
It's
LaShawn
LaShawn
McCoy he
McCoy.
was the double. Okay. I stopped you from that. That
Yeah,
would have
well,
been a
I
good
didn't know if it
pull.
was LaShawn McCoy or
Fournette
Le'Veon Bell.
or Le'Veon Bell, yeah. All right. If Austin Safarian Jenkins is on this list. See, like sometimes I would have never guessed any of these guys. Like, yeah,
Like
Ronnie Lott's
Ronnie
a
Lott.
legend, but like I didn't know his career that well.
Yeah.
McCown was the most obvious. Like, who are we supposed to get here? Keelan
Receiving.
Cole,
Yeah, this is a
Terrell
nasty list
Pryor,
of wide
Kenbrell
receivers.
Tompkins.
Ohio State legend.
So I guess Austin Severian, Coney Ely. These are some guys that I
Some nasty
am happy
names.
to have forgotten they exist. John Simpson, Solomon Thomas.
Solomon Thomas.
I feel like that was the one I had the best
LaMarcus
chance at.
Joyner. Wow.
Greg Van Roten. Oh, Patrick Owasso, Raven legend.
A
Kelechi Osemele, a Raven legend.
lot of Ravens legends
Eric
in this thing.
Tomlinson, Austin Howard. No Safarian Jenkins.
Uh-uh.
Damn. I think he was actually a Jet and a Buccaneer. All right, let's look up Austin Safarian Jenkins' career path.
That's such a nasty name, man.
Dude, I picked him up in fantasy one year and he had like back-to-back weeks of double digit touchdown or double digit
Double digit
two
touchdowns. He's the
touchdowns.
greatest player of all time.
Two touchdowns.
Yes. Buccaneers
Yeah,
and Jets.
Tampa and Jets. Wow, that would have been a
He
pull.
had a stop in Jacksonville too.
That would
Like
have been a
every
pull. All right. Well, I think that will do it here. We had a good preview of the week. I think what the games that we're
couple
really
games.
interested in.
Yeah.
And how do I stop sharing? Not stop recording. Oh, right here. There we go. Yeah, should be a good week. Go Ravens. Go
Go Cowboys.
Cowboys. I think Lions are probably gonna be able to run the ball, but Frank Ragnow's back too. Hey,
We
Mozzie
have
Smith's been playing better.
he has, and we have played pretty well against the run the past 2 weeks. Maybe
They're
maybe I'm
figuring
being
it
a
out a
little
little
too much
bit.
of a doomer, you know?
I really thought the Steelers were gonna beat them up, honestly, and that
I
did
did
not
too.
happen.
Thought it was gonna be a Najee Harris legacy game, but
Yeah,
defense locked it down.
but
So shout out to them. Dak Prescott played well when it mattered.
there we go. All
It was
right,
an
next
ugly
week, would you rather meet on
Tuesday.
Tuesday or do something like this again?
Tuesday.
Okay, we'll do that and we'll kind of review the week. We can honestly just kind of do like a combined like review slash look ahead.
Yeah, that works.
All right, peace out, bro.
Later. Be
Have a
safe.
good one.
You
You
too.
too. Peace.
Later.